Whoa, such a long girl. Hi, girl. Are you ready to eat? It's been a long time, huh? Hey guys, welcome back to the last session of pilots. Uh, Pretty exciting. We're gonna do like a conclusion video, but like as far as sessions go, at least for my thesis's purpose, session 8 is our last session, and it is on relationships. It's a fun one. I think it's a fun one. So I wanted to like address that sometimes these sessions don't necessarily have anything to do with mental health, which is kind of ironic because it's a mental health education program. But with anxiety and depression being like topics that we cover directly, the other sessions like this, or with stress or self-love and self-care, these are things that we can use, we can learn about. We can use the tools to help us regulate our mental health and help our mental health be a little bit more bolstered. And I think relationships are an important topic because they, we have people in our lives, humans are social creatures, and it's very important to have healthy relationships, supportive relationships, and know how to communicate and maybe cut ties or strengthen ties when it's necessary to do so. So with that in mind, we're going to talk about today a self-care tip, our last self-care tip. We're going to talk about healthy relationships and how to have them, and then we're going to do like a fun activity with it. And then 3, our last service project. So I'm excited, and we're going to get started. So self-care tip, last one I will show you is something that I did a while back. I filmed it like a couple months ago when I started these sessions, but I just had nowhere to put it, and I kept on like putting it off, putting it into a video. But I think it's really important, and it's kind of cool because I get to see the progress that I made from then to now. So it's gardening, and let me cut to it. So even though it's a pretty gloomy day out today, I decided that for my self-care tip of the day that I was going to show you one of my hobbies, which is gardening. And my self-care tip is this: find a hobby that helps you feel less anxious and less stressed and less depressed, and helps you focus in and center specifically on the activity that you're doing at that time. For me, it used to be drawing for my anxiety, because if I was figure drawing, I could look at a picture and look at the page and I would be precise and I would only think about that. With crocheting, it helped me do something with my hands and process my emotions and my thoughts while I was doing something else more productive than letting that anxiety build up. For me, gardening also serves a different purpose. For me, gardening has me wake up every day and feel like I'm creating something productive, but without that instant gratification. It helps me learn patience and learn that sometimes things grow and heal over time. And if you think something's dead and dying, it might not be. You just have to help it heal, give it space, give it water, give it love, and it'll grow right back to where it was supposed to be. So let me show you what I've been working on. An example of letting dead things not die is my catnip right here. So this catnip was at a certain point when I got it from the garden center. It was from a really bad garden center, and it was during summer, and it was completely dead. It was like green, but then it had like very, very dead bits on it. And when I planted it, I made sure I used the right fertilizer and time. And this bush used to be actually like way bigger. It was like all the way, can't even see, all the way up here. And I cut it down last week, and I dried it out so that I would have catnip for my roommate's cat, Bert, which you have met. But I have also worked on a lot of other herbs. So I have mint, I have oregano, I have sage, and I have lavender, not lavender, rosemary. I do have lavender, but that is on the table, and I keep on killing it. So we're trying not to kill it. And then up here we have, so there's spinach, and then this is a type of like pest repellent. And we have more spinach. Right here is where I'm germinating some basil. And then over here we have salad greens, which I'm gonna put into this pot in the ground. This is celery. It's not growing that big because it doesn't like the soil that it's in. Gardening tip,
your plants will grow based off of the type of soil that you put it in. If it's in the wrong kind of soil, it doesn't like it. And if you don't have, like, if you overwater it, it could get root rot, or if you underwater it or water it, it'll get dry. And then back here are my crowning achievements. So I have my Thai basil over there. I didn't care for that one that much in this past year. I just kind of let it do its own thing. And it was not thriving, but I repotted it. And then a couple of weeks ago, I came out and I trimmed off all the dead bits from it. And it's actually thriving a lot more and looks a lot healthier and is growing more leaves, which is sometimes you got to cut out the dead parts and you got to cut out the unhealthy parts for the healthy parts to grow. And that's some advice for life. Gardening can apply for life. And then I have my new strawberry plants. I have 3. It was sunny a couple of days ago, so they started growing more, but it has been rainy, so they are taking a break. This is my blueberry bush. I'm really worried about birds eating it when they actually start ripening. And then I have about 6 jalapeno plants down here. A couple are up in this pot over here, and I'm going to add more soil so they have more space. And this one's actually the only one that is growing anything on it. You can see, like, the little, like, I don't know if I can reach it, the little nubs. I'm really proud of that because I like jalapenos a lot. But I'm really, really proud of, this is my Anaheim pepper plant. My Anaheim pepper plant, I don't know if you can see, has like a ton of little, like, fruit coming off of it. And then my Roma tomato plant. My Roma tomato plant has just like a bunch of these guys right now. And then they have like more like underneath. What I looked up, it says to cut off the buds in the first year to discourage the plant from growing fruit, because it can, with fruit, it saps out a lot of the nutrients from the plant. And so if you take out too many nutrients, the plant could die because it has too much fruit that's like requiring all of this stuff to go to it, which is why it's important to give it the right soil and the right fertilizer and enough water so that it can grow big and healthy and support that. Sorry, I'm breathing hard right now. I have asthma. But make sure that you're giving it the right nutrients so that it can grow in the situation that it is in, which is another life lesson. People are kind of like plants, you know, you have to sometimes cut off the dead bits and sometimes let it learn a lesson before it can grow and before it can create and produce more things. And sometimes you just got to give it space. You can't overwater it, otherwise it'll get stifled and it will be drowned in too much stuff. And then if you don't give it enough love and affection, then it might wilt and it might not be too happy. So think about that for yourself and for your relationships as well as your plants. Blueberries like acidic soil, and tomatoes like when there's calcium in the soil, and pepper plants like nitrogen. That's my unnecessary tips. This is my 4th or 5th lavender bush. This is a different kind of lavender that I usually get. I kill every lavender bush I get. And it's really ironic because I love lavender. I have it tattooed on my ankle. I don't know if it's gonna, there you go, have it tattooed on my ankle. I keep killing every lavender bush that I have, which is kind of sad. But I don't know, I keep trying because I'm learning new things and I'm getting better at my hobby and I'm producing something sustainable and good, which is really important to me, and it's a very rewarding hobby. So I'm gonna go repot my salad greens and hopefully soon I'll be able to show you some progress. And yeah, thank you for watching me do some self-care for myself. Another thing that is very rewarding for me is this gal. Her name is Carl. She was given to me not by my behest. I was meant to be watching her, and then the person who owned her could not take her back. So now I own her. She was named Carl, and then Armani, and then I renamed her Carl. And then I got her gendered and found out that she's a she, but I thought Carl was a perfect name for her, so we're gonna keep her Carl. I'm gonna feed her right now because she hasn't eaten in a very long time, and I think she thinks that I'm lunch. Just kidding, she's very sweet, and I love her a lot. Look how big she is.
So I think that gardening is really important, or at least taking care of something, like my snake as well. Having something in your life that you have to regularly make sure that you are feeding and watering and weeding. You don't weed a snake, but with the gardening, making sure that you're taking care of something every day, because it can help you remind yourself to take care of yourself. You know, if you have something that's depending upon you, if you are in the place to do so, then it can help you be like, okay, I gotta water my plants, I gotta brush my teeth, I gotta do what I gotta do today. And so having that regularity can help us. And I think what a really cool thing is that my plants have gotten a lot bigger since that, but my tomatoes have suffered a fungal infection, and I had to cut away a lot of the plant, and I had to take care of it and buy pesticide, organic. And it's actually regrowing now. And it's, you know, I got all the fruit that I needed from it, but now I'm helping it regrow and become healthier again. And I think that's kind of a pretty good metaphor for mental health and for people in general, is that sometimes we get sick, sometimes we decline, but if we have the right tools and the right support, we can come back up and we can reach a healthy place again where we are producing tomatoes. So last self-care tip, I was going to show myself roller skating too, but that's how I broke my finger at the beginning of all of this. So I've been a little hesitant to go roller skating again, but I think I will. Maybe I'll do that in the conclusion video. It's just going to be me roller skating the whole time. Probably not safe. But now let's talk about relationships. Okay, so relationships of all kind are part of our lives every day. We have coworkers, we have family, we have friends, we might have romantic partners, we might just have random people that we happen upon, like our neighbors or our mailmen. And they're very important to make sure that we're maintaining and cultivating, because humans, like I said, are social creatures, and we want to have people in our lives, and we want to have that kind of support that helps us make it through the day and makes us feel like we have people to connect with. But sometimes, if a relationship is not healthy, our self-confidence and our mental health can take a bit of a toll, depending on how important and how large the issue is with that relationship. So ways to manage that are understanding our expectations of others and ourselves, managing our boundaries and setting healthy boundaries, and being able to learn how to communicate with one another and tell people what we want and what we need from them. So with expectations, it is something that we may consciously or subconsciously do for one another. So with certain relationships, we're going to have different kinds of expectations. You know, like I expect my family to be there for me in ways that my friends or partner can't. I expect my partner to do things with me that maybe my friends won't go with me to do, like go get vegan food every night. Not that I don't have friends that wouldn't do that, but you know, spending more time with me than my friends or my acquaintances might be able to. And sometimes our expectations can be a little bit too high. So like I, in the past, have felt really insecure if I'm not in constant communication with certain people in my life. And that's not fair, because that's too high of an expectation for me to set for them, as well as, you know, if they were to set that for me, like I have other things in my life, I can't constantly be talking to somebody. And so being able to manage our expectations and recognize, am I asking too much of them? Are they asking too much from me? And when we recognize that, being able to set boundaries and say, this is my limit, this is your limit, we're going to respect that, is an important next thing to do. So expectations, managing them. You could put it down into a chart if you want to. I could create one and put it into the resources below. But just being able to say like, so I expect my mom to help me out if I can't do something. And for her, she expects me as an adult to be able to do things on my own. A good way to manage those expectations is for me to talk to her and ask for advice, and then she, you know, can offer a little bit of advice, but I've got to figure the rest of it out on my own. And that's something that we've communicated on in the past and worked out between the two of us. So managing those expectations and then being able to say, depending upon relationship, what you expect from others and what they expect from you, and if you're comfortable with that. And then with that, boundaries, the next step. I have like a little sheet, not so little, so I'm not going to go over the entirety of it, but being able to set a boundary that is healthy as opposed to unhealthy, and recognizing if you're being a little bit too demanding or a little bit too permissive depending on the relationship. So let me show you an example that I think is an important one. It's actually the first one on this list. So healthy versus unhealthy boundaries chart. Healthy boundaries, you can say no or yes, and you're okay if somebody else says no. So being able to say like, hey, I can't hang out with you today. I can't do this for you today. I need to focus on myself, and being able to feel okay about that. Or the opposite of it, being able to say, yes, I can be there for you. Yes, I can provide this for you, so that you are supporting the person in your life. And then, having them also be able to expect that from you and have that boundary with you. Whereas the unhealthy boundary is you can't say no because you're afraid of rejection or abandonment. In the past, I've had relationships and friendships where I felt that if I said no to doing something for them, to providing something for them, that they might not want to spend time with me anymore. And that's really unhealthy because, that makes me feel insecure. It makes me feel like I can't have my own autonomy within a relationship. So I think also an important one is being able to have reciprocity. So you both share that power. So being able to say no and you both being able to support each other and say, hey, it's okay, I get it. Today you're busy. Maybe later on in the week. And then being able to hit them back later and be like, okay, I'm okay now. Let's hang out. And being able to give and take in a relationship. Also important is having a strong sense of identity. Respecting yourself, saying, I can have my own autonomy within this relationship and I can do my own thing, but I know that you're still there for me, whether or not we're constantly in contact or constantly hanging out, and that you support my decisions. Maybe they offer feedback and they communicate when they're disappointed in you, but in a healthy and safe way. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because it's long, and also setting your own boundaries is important. So for you, it might not be the same priority as other people. I prioritize communication and respect, and it's something that I'm working on, is being able to say no to people and have, them say no to me without me having a meltdown about it. But it's things that we have to work on and recognize that maybe we do have some unhealthy expectations, or we don't have strong enough boundaries, or maybe our boundaries are a little too strong for other people. So recognizing that and taking into stock the things that we could work on to make our relationships, familial, platonic, or romantic, more successful. So expectations, boundaries, and the communications. When we feel like maybe our expectations are not being met or our boundaries are not being respected, how do we communicate with somebody and decide whether or not this is a relationship that's worth continuing, worth pursuing? I will right now say that in some situations, you might not be in a safe enough place to say, hey, I need you to stop this because it's hurting me. If you feel like you are unsafe with somebody in your life, please use the resources that I'm going to put below or even on the screen. It's important to know that you are worth respect and you're worth having your boundaries respected. And that if you set something out for somebody else and say, I cannot do this thing for you, I can't constantly be there for you, I need to be able to be my own person, and they're not respecting you as a person, you have the right to make the decision no longer to have that person in your life. You do not have to have a discussion with them prior to that if you do not feel that you would be safe in that. I'm a huge fan of communication, but I do recognize in some cases, communication can put you in harm's way. So please recognize your safety within a relationship. And if you feel unsafe, please use the resources and please, reach out to people to help you find a way either to get out of that kind of relationship or to figure out a way to make it healthier if you deem it something that you want to work on. That being said, working on relationships, sometimes we're going to get in fights with people. That's part of life. You're not always going to get along with everybody, but it's the way that we communicate when we're disappointed and we communicate when we're upset that is extremely important to having a healthy relationship. I said in previous videos that in the past, I used to blow up at people if I was very disappointed with them, and that wasn't something that was okay. And I recognized that and I worked on that. But, it was something that was detrimental to my relationships in the past. And I definitely was not being somebody that was respecting other people's boundaries or, respecting their expectations. So being able to recognize, standing up for yourself is important, but the way that we word it and the way that we tell people that we're feeling hurt can either, also make them feel hurt or can help fix things depending on how we word it. So I'm a huge fan of I statements. So being able to say, I feel hurt because of something that happened, instead of saying, you did this to me, I'm in pain now. One way you're saying, these are my feelings, you cannot invalidate my feelings, you can't tell me that I'm not feeling this because these are my feelings. That's what a nice statement is. Maybe not such aggressive terms, but being like, I am hurt. Whereas saying you hurt me, they can refute that and be like, no, I didn't do that. But if you say, I feel hurt because of this thing that happened, You know, they can't tell you what you're feeling. They can try, but then that's not being, you know, respectful of your boundaries or being in a healthy relationship. So being able to communicate and say, I was hurt when I asked you if you wanted to hang out and you didn't text me back for 3 days. Instead of saying you didn't text me back and that was really mean and I hated that, you know, being able to put out there your feelings and prioritize your feelings as a concept can help other people enact empathy. Whereas, you know, if they're defensive, they're not going to be thinking about what's going on. So like being able to say like, I have this boundary. These are my feelings. These are the things that I want and I need. And then giving them the space to also communicate and say, this is what I need. This is how I feel. And being able to come to a compromise or to work together and be able to say, you know what, let's try to collaborate on how we can feel better together. Or this time you can have this thing, and then next time maybe we'll go with whatever I'm trying to do. So being able to work those things out and make sure that you're not being too permissive or too demanding in a relationship, and go towards collaborative or compromising, and making sure that you guys both feel supported, whether it be romantic, platonic, or familial, and saying, you know what, you are somebody that's important to me. I want for things to be okay. How do we make them okay? In the same vein as communication, making sure that you're giving people enough space and time to cool off. You know, you have to recognize people's different kinds of conflict resolution styles. And some people like to take things head on, and then some people need time to take a step back and think about something and then come to you and present how they're feeling. So recognizing and being able to communicate with other people and say, hey, you seem a little upset with me today. Do you want to talk about it, or do you need time? And then giving them the chance to tell you how they would like to solve the problem, or even communicating with somebody first and saying, hey, I am feeling upset right now. I don't want to talk about it, but I just want you to know I'll come to you when I'm feeling safe to do so. Or, hey, can we talk about it right now if you're comfortable doing that? Communication is key. It is like the most important thing in any relationship, is making sure that everybody is feeling heard and feeling respected. So once you have managed your expectations, you have set your boundaries, if things go wrong, or if like you even want to tell somebody like, hey, I care about you so much, that's like a big part of communication too, is being able to tell people, you know, I care about you and you are somebody that I want in my life. And letting them know that they are valued in your life is an important point of communication as well. And I think that it's undervalued telling people that you love them so much. I think we should love people more, honestly. There was one day that I was like coming back on a plane and I was just like listening to my Father John Misty and just really in my feelings. And I was thinking about like, why are we so afraid to tell people we have like crushes on them, or that we like them and want to spend time with them? Like, it's part of the human existence. This is our experience to feel feelings. Why don't we feel them more? Anyways, now we're going to talk about a fun activity. It's called Love Languages. If you've never heard of it, it is the concept that there are 5 ways that we express our love as humans, whether it be, I'm going to say it again, romantic, platonic, or familial. It's the ways that we like to give and receive love. So let me see if I can remember them off the top of my head. Words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, gifts, and acts of service. I've explained this so many times, I feel like I'm just like, and so I'll explain them. So words of affirmation are like being able to say or receive words where it's like, hey, I really appreciate you. You're somebody that's important in my life. What was the second one? Quality time, spending time with somebody, gifts, giving or receiving gifts, acts of service, no, physical touch, hugs, kisses, pats on the head, arm around the shoulder, anything like that. And then acts of service, you know, helping somebody out with someone, offering to take them to go do an activity, or be like, hey, do you need help with anything? I'll fix your shower head if it's leaking. I don't know why that was my example. And I think that it's fun because there are certain activities that you can do where you see how you like to give love and how you like to receive it. I downloaded one, but I found one online that it's centered around partners, but I think you can apply it to a non-romantic relationship as well. So I'm going to show you. I've done this so many times in so many different ways, and I always find it really fun. My love languages, I really like quality time. I think that's really important for me. And I really like to give gifts or do acts of service. I love like doing things for people or offering things to people. But I think for me, quality time is like my most important. I mean, yeah, quality time. I think that like words of affirmation sometimes make me uncomfortable. Like I like to hear that people like me, but sometimes I just like am bad at receiving compliments. So that one's a hard one. Like I like it, but I also don't like it. But anyways, I will show you the quiz that you can do to test out your own love languages. So, okay, so it's got all of them listed up here. Okay, and then it's got this okay, yeah, it's got this quiz that you take. And so it says partner, you can plug in whoever you're thinking about. I mean, if it applies, like if you like to have physical touch from your family, but not from friends, like it can be different. So if you maybe cross out the word partner and like plug in friend or family member, then you can like figure out your different love languages for different people. Just like you have expectations and boundaries for different people, you can have different loves for different people. So you select one of these, and then at the end, scroll down, you tally them up, and then you score it. So your highest number is your love language. This one's like more towards like what you like to have. It doesn't really consider like what you like to give as well. So, you know, it can be different for different people. I can try to find the one that I did when I was an orientation leader in college, because that was really cool, because we had 3 different relationships, and then it was like, what would you do for this person? What would you do for this person? And so it showed like, what would you like them to do for you? What would you like to do for them? And it was like, I think my sister, my ex-boyfriend, and like a coworker. So it like showed the different kind of priorities that you have for different people in your lives. And I think love languages are really fun. I will find one that is a little bit more in depth. But yeah, so conversation on relationships. If you want to talk more about it, definitely message me. I think it's really hard to go super in depth about relationships and to talk about the complexities of them, because, you know, they're so nuanced and people are so nuanced, and we all have different things going on in our lives and different things we want from different people. Like for me, I love the concept of a friend that can just like sit in a room with me and watch me play video games while they do something else. That's like my best friend and I, like she'll be sewing and I'll just be like playing a game, and like we'll switch off, like I'll be doing like art and she'll be playing a game, and it's just that companionship. We like to drink tea and watch Jane Austen movies too, and then we like to, you know, go on trips together. So it's like having somebody who's like a companion is like really important to me. And then for family, like people who are there for you and support you. You might not agree on everything, but like you're still there for each other at the end of the day. And then like a romantic partner, like your best friend. That's like my priority, is somebody that like I can spend my time with and they can understand me on a level that like other people don't. But different people have different, you know, expectations for the people in their lives. Maybe their partner is their bigger priority and maybe their family isn't, or maybe their family takes precedence over everything else. So your priorities and your expectations of different people are going to be different than mine or theirs or anybody else's. And it's okay to have different expectations and boundaries and love languages, so long as you're able to work that out between the two of you. So like, you know, not everyone has to be 100% like on the same page, but as long as you can understand other people's pages, other people's books, and be like, hey, I see you, I respect you, we can work on that. I am happy that you have different interests than mine, or you have different things that you like to do. And then being able to like communicate about that and respect it and be there for each other. So thank you for listening to my spiel on relationships. And now we're going to talk about our last service project. Okay, so you cannot do this one until social distance is done, just like the beach cleanup one. This one is going to a retirement home or assisted living and volunteering. My mom used to own and run retirement homes, and so I used to help out when I was in high school, and then I was a concierge for her for a little bit, or assistant, a receptionist? I don't know, they're all kind of similar. I don't know the differences between the 3 of them. But it's a really great place to be, to, you know, give somebody company that might not get as much company as they need. They have different activities that you can do when you go to retirement communities, and sometimes they'll read with you, or sometimes you can play games with them, or like do dance classes, or or cook with them. And I think that it's really important to give back in such like a sweet way, is just spending time with somebody who might just need that companionship that they're not getting so much anymore. And even just being there to like have them talk to you and tell you stories, like that's such an important thing that you can do, and it's a very good way to give back to the community and give back to people who have been on this earth for way longer than the rest of us. So you might get some wisdom too from whatever they have to say to you. And there are tons of assisted living and retirement communities in any neighborhood, so you don't even have to go that far. All you have to do is call up and be like, hey, what are your qualifications for volunteering? And then I bet you anything, they'll be like, hey, just pass this background check, come hang out with us, and then you get community service hours and you help somebody feel a little bit more supported and loved throughout their day. So go hang out with some older folks. Okay, so relationships. That's a subject that I could go on for forever, but this was a short, sweet, and to the point kind of video. I just wanted to put it out there and kind of put out the basics of managing your expectations, setting healthy boundaries, and then communicating in an effective and respectful manner. Those are very, very important elements to healthy relationships, and I would love to talk to you about it more. If you have any comments, please put them below. Please access the resources and take the survey. And let me know how you felt about the whole program. I'm going to have the post session, like the post program survey in the last video, in the conclusion video. I might put it in this one as well. But thank you so much for participating. I will go more in depth with my thanks later on, but it's really been a blast and it's been a very interesting experience. And yeah, I'll see you for the conclusion video and let me know how you felt about this. Thanks and have a great almost summer day. My rags from camp. You see, oh my god, it looks weird when it's I'm too committed to the YMCA. I like specifically got that so that I could put that above my bed and sleep with my rags above my head every night. If you're part of the rag program, hit me up, let me know what rag are you on. Big connection for me.